Hey guys, it's Alex Bybee. I go by Grateful Futures. I've been wanting to start making these videos where I basically just break down my analysis for the day and see if you guys can take something out of it about how to make accurate predictions on the market. I trade mainly the indices. Most of the time I'm on SPY, the S&P 500. So this isn't going to be like a full detailed, basic video showing you how to use volume profile, which is the kind of the core of my analysis. So I'll make another video on how those actually work and how you can set them up. But I am just going to go over just the basics of what I used to make the long-term analysis that I did today. This is the S&P 500 on a 45-minute chart. So, 90% of your analysis should be about volume. Volume is what moves the markets. It's what you can use to find levels, make predictions. Really, any other indicator that's not volume based is basically just showing you the result of the underlying volume in the market, right? Because to move the market up, there needs to be more buys than sells. To move the market down, there needs to be more sells than buys. So just so you guys know, I do use pretty much all my analysis is done using volume profile. There's a couple different volume profiles that I want to show you guys really quick. The first one is going to be the anchored volume profile. I'm on TradingView, so you would go over here to your projection tools. Down here, anchored volume profile. This is going to give you a volume profile on the right side of your screen that's from where you click on to the current, market day. So if we just go ahead and let's say, you want to do it for a general uptrend, some people do it for like a year. In this case, I just want to show you guys how it works here. So from this pivot low right here up to the current, this was this morning, trading action. I want to see what is the volume at, pretty much everywhere on the price scale from this point and on. So that should pop up to the right side of your screen, kind of similar to this. We've been in this congestion phase here. So the longer that price sits there, the more, volume bars accumulate at that price level. So the longer it stays in a certain area, generally, the higher the volume profile is going to look in that region. So again, I'm going to do another video just showing you guys the basics of volume profile, but for the purpose of this video, I just want you guys to know that this is a high volume node. That means a lot of volume was traded there. These would be low volume nodes, meaning very, very little trading was done there. And for the purpose of this video, the high volume node, there's just a few parts that I want to talk about. So the lower part of this volume node, basically like right around here, that is going to be support for this range of price action. So if I see a high volume node like this, I'm going to take roughly the bottom of it and I'm going to put a box down there. I'm going to go ahead and mark this maybe about right there. I'm going to make this green because I know it's support, and the top of the volume node, that is going to be our resistance. So I'm going to go ahead and put a box on that. Move this box out of the way. I'm going to put a box on that. That is going to be our resistance. So you can see that price throughout the week has kind of reacted to these zones. There's been support down here, or when you're getting to the bottom of this high volume node, that's when you could start looking for potential reversals. When you get to the top, you can look for bearish reversals. So those are my main zones for this congestion phase. We can say a couple things. And before I get there, one other thing I do want to kind of show is that there's this line that sticks out from the volume profile. That is the highest traded volume node of the entire profile. So this level right here at around 643.38, that is where most of the volume has taken place in this entire uptrend. So that's a good thing to know there. Now, what can we say is, potentially going to happen here? That, could be a few things. We could do what we've done already in this range. We could come down, support the bottom of this high volume node, and come back up. And for all intents and purposes, the point of control, that line there, that also can act as a resistance. So if, let's say, price does come down here and bounces, we could use that as a target, a first target. So what else could happen? Let's say we open higher, we could wait for a reversal of this zone and play the bearish reversal there. What else can we do, right? Well, price may not stay in this range. We could have a breakout. The potential breakouts would be, just a general breakthrough and retest, or it could be the same thing the other way. Now, there's a little more in depth that I want to go in. To kind of show you exactly where we can expect these. And that really plays into the trades that took place today. So this is just kind of generally on a long-term scale, how we can look at the volume nodes of your anchored volume profile and say, okay, where are these things likely to happen? Where are we likely to get bounces on a long-term scale? That's pretty much what I do in a 45 minute. I'll do another video about wave trend as well, but for right now, I want to focus on the volume profile because I think that's the most important. And now, once we have that, let's zoom in. I like to move to a 15-minute chart, and what I'll use is a different kind of volume profile on the 15-minute chart. This volume profile, you can see it starts at the beginning of each session. That's called session volume profile, and you can find that. Same thing, forecasting tools. And oh, I'm so sorry. No, you got to go to the indicators, and you would just type in session volume profile, and it's right there. So you click that. Now, just really quick note, I'm going to go over these more later. You can see that there's these blue lines here. We still have our point of control, our highest volume zone. The blue lines are what we call the value area high and low. So it would highlight the volume bars that are 70%, technically 68% of the entire volume of the spectrum. That's, if you're into science, that's one standard deviation away from the average here. So that's just going to show you, 70% of the volume traded in that zone for the day. Now, one thing I do want to mention really quickly, so if you noticed something about the point of control, if it, since it extends into the day or into the next day, we want to see price retest those zones. They can act as, the one from the previous day can be the target for today, but you want to see these, point of controls retested. If they haven't been tested in the trading day, that is what we call a virgin point of control. See, while this one did kind of break through it, this was in pre-market, so you want to have the volume validate the level. So what happened? Let's just look at this day. So we had a pop up into that top of our long-term high volume node. It came right back down. And throughout the trading day, we got a reversal close to down here as well. Throughout the trading day, this was where most of the volume was traded. Next day, the price opened down here at the bottom of our high volume node. If as long as this doesn't keep breaking and keep going, if it holds, I'm looking to go long to at least test this one here, to at least test this point of control from the previous day. And what happens? It goes down, comes up, hits it pretty much perfectly, and it actually keeps going all the way up to the top of the high volume node area. But that would have been my trade for the day, is here, hit it there. That's my first target. And then if I am still holding, then we could potentially try to hit the top of this area. I would not feel comfortable holding longs past the top of this long-term high volume node, and I wouldn't feel comfortable holding shorts below the bottom of this high volume node without it retesting first. So that's one thing there. It should retest those point of controls from previous days. And it pretty much does every day. So from this day, this was the point of control. We opened up higher. That's a clear short with a target of the previous day's point of control. So that's kind of just what I wanted you guys to see how you can play this range. Yesterday was a super choppy day close to the bottom. Didn't really like to even trade much that day, but this is what I want you guys to see. That notice how these point of controls are kind of lining up. That's going to be an important level. So if you guys want, we can take a horizontal ray and put that there. That's going to be an important level. And of this trading day, or let's go look at the previous trading day. This was our point of control. We have not yet tested it, so that's going to be a naked or virgin point of control. I'm going to go ahead and mark that off as well. So that's really it. You can see kind of yesterday's point of control is almost kind of lining up with the overall long-term point of control. That means this is going to be a pretty heavy level to get through. If we go ahead and flash to the 1 minute chart here in a second, I'm going to show you guys what happened. But before that, let's just make some game plan here, right? So it could do that like we talked before, bounce up as it already had in the pre-market. And then in the pre-market, what else did we notice? Yesterday's point of control and the long-term point of control, price is rejecting it. It's rejected it twice so far. So I know that validates that is going to be a pretty heavy zone to get through. If it pops through and supports, I could try to take it to maybe this next level. And if it fails, we're just probably going to bounce in here until we get a rejection and retest. Now, we can even look a little farther. What is, kind of holding this whole range up right now? Yes, it's the bottom of this high volume node, but also look at this. It's this point of control right here from this last uptrending day coming into this consolidation range. So that's kind of what's holding this whole thing together right there, this level right here. So I know that's going to be super important. And I could even say if it does break below that and retest it to go down, that's going to be pretty powerful. And I know it's going to be powerful because, um, one thing about these high volume nodes is they're so high because sellers and buyers are very active there. So price tends to stay within these zones. What's below that zone? Pretty much nothing, right? Pretty much clear skies. So I know if it does hit this and go down, it could be a breakout day, more or less. So that's my game plan here. And if it does break, above this high volume node and retest it, then it could be a long day as well. But because we see that the value area is kind of increasing, and it started to decrease, I'm a little biased towards a breakdown and retesting down. So let's just go ahead and label this. I'm going to label this so uh, critical point of control. You could have also labeled it bearish retest. All right, so that's pretty much my goal, is to either catch a support here and play into the POC from yesterday. Potentially, if it gets through this POC up here from these two zones, and if it breaks down, retests there and continues, I am definitely going short at that point. Depending on where I catch it and the viable risk at the time. But that would be a really, really good trade. Put these volume bars down. Okay, and one other thing, and I'll do kind of a shapes of POCs as well, but this is kind of technically considered a capital B shape. So, that means that price is going to want to travel from one zone to the other. Of course, if it breaks out to the top, we could create a whole new zone up there, but that's probably for another video. So that is kind of my pre-market plan there. Now, if we go ahead and zoom into the 1 minute, I also have on this a different kind of volume profile. So this one is going to be just developing throughout the whole day. I personally use this one. It's I think it's by KV4 Coins on TradingView, but you guys can use anything that trails a certain number of bars and continues to develop throughout the day. You could even use the anchored volume profile if you anchor it to the beginning of the day, but I just choose to keep this one on there. For me, it's easier. So let's go ahead and start the replay, keeping our game plan in mind. Right now, we can see from the pre-market, we have also kind of a B shape here. So I know price is going to be, if it breaks up here, it might support this high volume node. It could potentially reject off that one. And the same thing holds true for larger volume nodes as smaller ones. The bottom of this node, this area, is going to be supportive. The top of that same node right here is going to be resistive. And you could say the same thing about this one up here. So this one, this portion is going to be supportive of the price when it's in this zone. And this part, as of right now, of course, these are developing. So these change throughout the day and you have to kind of react to them. This should be green. This is going to be supportive of this zone, and this is going to be rejective of this zone. So just kind of keep that factor in mind. One other thing I want to mention is that low volume nodes, those are what you kind of consider as your traditional support. So I actually only mark off the low volume nodes. I do this in orange. So I'll take like a low volume node like that. I'll write it in orange. And that's going to be your, potential bounces. If it hits off here and goes down, I know it's resisting price from going into the next zone and is probably going to drift back into the lower peak in volume profile. So let's just go ahead and take this candle by candle and we'll see where we go and if we can make some decent trades using this. So let's go ahead and start the day. We hit 9:30 and expect the volume profile to change pretty rapidly at 9:30 when all that volume's coming in. Perfect. This is the first candle of the day, and keep in mind we're on a 1 minute chart, so probably don't trade immediately as soon as the market opens. I always like to wait until at least 5 minutes, preferably 15 minutes, so we can see how this volume profile is developing. And already off the bat, we can immediately see that it gets a rejection off of this virgin point of control and is heading straight to our bullish reversal zone, which is the bottom portion of the overarching long-term high volume node. So what's our game plan again? Remember, as long as it supports this right here, we can take bullish reversals, preferably if the price is above VWAP, volume weighted average price. I personally, I only like to go long above volume weighted average price, and I like to go only short below. Some people take, bottom reversal trades, top reversal trades when it is above VWAP. You can do that and be successful, but you really have to be looking at the volume stuff. So I don't personally do that. It's just a rule of mine. But other people do, and I guess it's really personal preference. So already we see that this is a valid zone that we drew earlier from our naked point of control from the previous day. It's rejecting that level. If we keep going, price has pumped down into the bottom of this larger high volume node, and it does actually break through this point of control that we said would be the kind of the critical defining moment for it to have an extended loss. Now, what can we see? What can we see from here? That there is an incredible amount of volume that came in at this bottom level. And if we look at the session volume profile, we might be able to see that. Let's just kind of push it forward to where we can see that there. So let's see if we can see that. It's honestly pretty even in terms of buying and selling down here. Down here at the very bottom, it's actually heavily sell volume, which is kind of funny because it bounces right back up. That is another thing we could talk about. That kind of tells me that there's something holding the price up, at least for now, but I'm not going to really go into that a ton right now. More so, just that this is now our high volume node and our point of control is now down here. Lots of volume is coming in at this level. Again, I'm not shorting until I see this retest this line right here and fail, because overall we're in a place that has had lots of buying volume throughout this week, and it's just not good to go short into the bottom of a high volume node, especially a long-term one, without proof that it's going to fall there. So let's keep going and see what happens here. So price has pushed up out of it, out of this bottom area. Still, most of our volume has been down here, but we are now above VWAP. I'm still not really taking any kind of trade right here. Maybe if it comes down and retests this, then we can start to think about going long in that case up until where we said before our profit target was. But a couple things here I want to mention. You want to give yourself the best chance of, the highest risk to reward ratio. You want to wait until you're at kind of the most optimal entry to minimize your risk. So you can wait for a pullback until it comes kind of down to this volume node to go up. It's still kind of early in the day for me. It's really volatile. I'm kind of on the fence about wanting to trade right now. Definitely not right now. So let's see what happens. Price pumps up off of VWAP and goes straight up. So, this would have been a good trade. You can kind of see there's a developing node here and a developing node here as well as here. What are the most optimal entries given what the chart's showing right now? It's the bottom of these zones, right? So those are the zones that I'm looking for support of. This one is a little quick for me. Maybe some other scalpers got into this, but you can see the bottom of that node is right where it had support and pushed up. And if it does, this node develops, where is the most optimal long entry is at the bottom of that node. So just kind of, I didn't take this trade, so I'm more interested in seeing what happens here, but it pumps up, runs into resistance like it did on open, right at that overall point of control and yesterday's point of control. Now it comes down, and where is it retesting? Right there. And that actually broke. Now it's retesting this bottom node right here. So we're back into this long-term bullish reversal for the consolidation. Same thing. I'm not going short just because I see it coming down. A lot of new traders will do that, and they'll try to play off the momentum, but that's the worst thing you can do. Where would a reasonable stop loss be? All the way up here. Where could you reasonably go? Right here. So this is not, definitely not an ideal short. It's not an ideal long either, because it hasn't proven to me that there is significant support here. So I'm going to go ahead and just, sit on my hands right now, sit on my hands, wait. Now at the point of control for the day where most of the volume was traded, it supported it. Now it came back up, supported it again, tested this again. Now you can see there's a lot of volume coming in now. Definitely more volume coming in now than there was even at open. And just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to go ahead and increase the right offset so we can see these actual zones. That's just going to push that off to the right. Still kind of sitting on my hands. I don't like it when it's too insanely volatile. I like to be able to see, a perfect entry. So now what can we say about the chart? It came down, supported at that bullish reversal zone, came up to our point of control for the entire consolidation, failed there. Now it's retesting this bottom zone right here, and it's been supported. There's a higher low now. That's overall, bullish for our market structure. Price has supported there. It's come up. We've popped up again. And now we're consolidating up here. So we've made a higher low. Price is consolidating. Now you can see that there's two kind of distinct volume zones that are coming out of this. There's this one, and technically three, I guess I would say, but there's this one, and then there's this very, very fresh one coming just from price kind of being up here a little bit, and there's this one. So I'm looking for price to support the bottom of one of these. It's good. It's made new higher lows, and now it's consolidating above VWAP. It's consolidating right at that value area of the day. This is actually where I went ahead and I took my first trade because everything was there. It's testing this point of control from yesterday multiple times since it's broken through it. It's kind of invalidated that zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase that zone. And the only reason I took this trade bullish was because there was a very definitive stop loss. So I entered this trade right here. My stop loss was below this node right there. Sorry, it was below the low volume node. And my first target was that point of control, to just reach again that point of control. So let's go ahead and see how this ended up playing out. Continues to consolidate, continues to consolidate. See how it came down and perfectly retested. We want to see it support the bottom of one of those nodes. If it passes into the next node, that's not good, and I'd want to be out. That's why I set my stop loss there. But it did end up condensing on that bottom area of this zone, which is really, really super bullish, and it immediately came out of that. You could see bulls stepped in right there when they saw that, push the price up right to our first profit target. I was still holding a little bit just to see if it could end up getting to the next virgin point of control. So I actually went right below this right there. So what ended up happening, once it breaks through that consolidation point of control, it just flew right up to go test this next level. So that was the first trade for me for the day. That was super successful. We could identify a tight stop loss. It was supported by volume data coming out of our low end of our high volume node for the consolidation. Everything was good there, and that was pretty much the first trade of the day. I'm out now, just kind of waiting to see what happens. And let's go ahead and just kind of continue playing the replay. So, okay, now we've actually shifted the entire point of control up a little bit. There was a lot of volume that came in up there. That's fine. We've retested this point of control that was from, a couple days ago. I'm going to go ahead and just erase that one. Now, let's look at the volume profile a little bit and just analyze it, break through. We have some definitive low volume nodes. This one right here. I'm going to go ahead and mark that off in orange because that's going to be kind of a critical tipping point or traditional support and resistance point. You can see that actually matches up perfectly with right here, and also some places pre-market kind of supported there as well. So I'm going to mark off that one. This is also a low volume node. Let's go ahead and mark that off as well. And you can see that's exactly where it's supported right there too. So, okay, so we are just kind of retesting the bottom end of this higher volume node here. So if it were to continue bullish, I would want to see this be supported and it come up to break through, make a new high, and have a new consolidation area. higher. If it's going to break lower, then we can start to look at these volume zones below and try to say, hey, what's going to happen? Always make a plan for if the price is going to go down or up. If it breaks through this, it should retest it since that was kind of a critical support zone, and it should come down to this next support zone, right? That would mean that it's broken through the low volume node. It's retesting that volume node, meaning, the upper part of this volume node here. So if it fails there, that's very bearish to fail at the top end of one of these nodes. Let's just make this green. Okay, and let's see what happens. Play the tape. So it's testing that zone. You can see it bounces right there. So almost looks like it's going to go bullish. But again, I'm not going to go, bullish here. Again, I've already made profits here. There's a huge amount of volume that's coming in up here. If it were to, you know, be maybe another scalp that I would take, I would wait for it to break and retest the bottom of the new high volume zone. And let's just see, continue what happens. So it ends up breaking through. So we know that's not going to happen anymore. And to be honest, it didn't even retest the top of the zone. So that's pretty bearish. I can see lots of sell volume coming in there. But again, it stops right at that low volume node. So let's just kind of see what happens here. I don't short above VWAP, so I would be waiting for this point to, if I was going to go in short anyways, and look to see what happens really, really quickly actually. So price supports here, spikes up to the top of this high volume node, which is, remember, keep in mind that if it fails at the top of a high volume node, that's pretty, that's something that I would consider as bearish volume price action. And that ended up coming, it was actually the 9 EMA as well. So that's another confluence there that, might come down and reject again. But I'm not by any means entering a bearish trade right now, just because we're coming into this heavy buy volume zone. If I'm going to go short at all today, it's a rejection of this because that's what's going to send the price down significantly. Let's go ahead and play the tape there. It catches support off of this low volume node, or the bottom end of this high volume node. You can think about it either way, and comes up to retest this high volume node again. Still can't really see any kind of entry there for me right now. It's kind of been a volatile day. It's not my favorite when that happens, but we can find some good trades out of it if it does execute on our plan, what we think is going to happen. There's low risk to reward. Then we need to kind of make sure we're taking those trades that if it does fall within our volume price analysis, execute on those as long as the risk to reward is something reasonable. But I'm not shorting into this bottom of this high volume node. That's not good. That's the longer term time frame is bullish here. So I don't want to short there until I see something significant. But you can see how it also plays between these low volume nodes. Remember, those low volume nodes are the traditional support. So it's kind of just bouncing around between those right now. But the fact that it tried to break up into the top portion of this high volume node, and it can't, it's failing, it's coming back into the value area of the day, makes me think that an extended breakout up is just not in the cards right now. And that's fine. We're just watching at this point. So it's broken down below that low volume node, retesting it, and fails even further. So, retesting it fails. I'm still not in any position right now. Some people may, kind of take a scalp here just because it's also coinciding with the 9 EMA, but I didn't want to do that. Maybe if I didn't make my original trade today, I may have tried to scalp that, but that's not a trade that I would want to take today, just because of the bullish reversal area of this larger high volume node. So now it is coming to pretty significantly attack our point of control from kind of what was holding this whole thing up before. Actually, it's better seen on the 15 minute. This point of control here, which had been holding the price up the entire week, especially yesterday. So now this is our first real chance of seeing if we can get up below this and retest it. But immediately, as soon as it broke down there, buyers stepped in to make this hammer candle here, but they do keep pushing it down. So it's now consolidating down here at the bottom. And we see we've actually made a couple new low volume nodes. Let's make sure we are marking those off. Okay. Okay, so now we have officially failed the bull reversal area. So this area is, unless it snaps back into it and gets above this point of control and starts bouncing off of the lower ends of these volume nodes, this bull reversal area is, more or less invalidated. Now we are looking to get a kind of a new lower low underneath that critical bearish retest. Let's see if we can get it. So it's coming right up to it. Buyers try to push into it, and we get a strong fail. Not only do we fail underneath it, but where does it fail? It fails right at the top of this, the highest volume node of the day. So we are getting some serious bearish price action right now. We have formed a new low underneath the support that has been holding up price in this consolidation range all week. This is something that I would be very interested to short, and we should take a short here, right here. Once we see that, that goes all 100% with our plan. Where is our stop loss? It's above that support that it's pretty much failing off of. And that's it. It should be off to the races because we are now moving price into this low volume area. And where can we expect price to potentially stop? If we look, it's going to be the low volume nodes that have high buyer interest, so high buy imbalance. So let's look at, there's going to be this area could be a potential reversal area. This area could be a potential reversal area. And after that, we really just get into the lower liquidity zone. Maybe right here. We could also say right here is going to be a potential reversal area. That would be quite far for this downtrend, though. You know that we're already a little bit oversold with our technicals, but everything is coming together here for a push down. It's failed that critical area. That was our point of control that got us into this consolidation phase and has held us up ever since in the past few days. So what happens here? Very strong fails coming through here. Sellers are coming in hot. They know that we are out of our consolidation phase. And now it's just how long is the run going to go? So every time you have a new consolidation, meaning price comes back up from where it just fell through, there should be a new volume pocket that's formed. So immediately always mark off our low volume nodes. If the downtrend is intact, price should still continue to slow down and fail at these low volume nodes. So we would want to get a test of the above volume node and then a fail from the low volume node, or technically the top of the newly formed volume node. So it is now retesting that low volume node. If you're still in your short at this point, this is right now a good sign that you could probably hold it. So if I'm in this short still. Let's go ahead and just for sake, I'll do kind of like a simulated trade here using TradingView. So we're going to go ahead and just redo that here. So we see it's failed at our critical level. I'm going to go ahead and sell. So just to give us an idea here, and my stop loss again would be above that low volume node into the next node above. My target price is going to be probably to start. We could put it somewhere maybe over here. I like to trail my stop, so I'm not really too worried about that. Once I get decently in profit, I'll put my stop loss at break even, but I want to show you guys for the sake. Our first target was hit. Now let's say we do still have that position here and our stop loss was previously right there. I'm going to go ahead now, once I've hit that, I'm going to move my stop loss to break even and just kind of see where it goes. We're back where we are, right. That's where we were retesting this low volume node. And once I see this, it's kind of struggling at that low volume node or the top of this high volume node. I'm going to go ahead and take my stop loss and I'm going to move it above that low volume node. So like right there pretty much. And I want to, or if I'm a scalper and I see it starting to fail here at the top of this low volume node, maybe I'm entering again right there. Price comes back in and tests it again. And maybe we creep up with it a little bit into the next volume node just to give us some insurance. So it is failing it right there. Comes up to test it again. And, the other thing I want to think about too is not just the volume and support and resistance, but where is the supply and demand? So a few things here. Whenever you have a huge drop in price, generally there's a large imbalance of sell orders right here. So just to kind of get these out of the way to illustrate this. And I don't really draw these as much. I try to think about them a lot right now. But for example, this major pocket of cells, this cell imbalance right here, that forms a technically, like a supply region. So there's sellers ready to go at that level, and that's kind of, it coincides with the volume levels. For this one, in this case, there would be a supply region somewhere around here. There should be. So, there's a lot of things that come together with this. I don't always draw these, but, I kind of just like to think that they're there. Also, you know, the opening range is pretty important too. I'm not going to go over that right now either, but that was another, pretty important level here. Or if it were to actually have a reversal, it'd want to get back up into that opening range and have this just kind of be like a dip. But what price does is it comes up, tries to get back into this high volume node. And if we were to see a legit reversal, we want the previous high volume node to be broken. So the current high volume node is this one right here. That's the one that it's currently in, currently forming. If it is going to actually be a legitimate reversal, or I can start thinking about a legitimate reversal, I want the previous high volume node to be broken and retested. So now let's think, what's our possibilities here at this point? Our possibilities is for it to fail back down into the current high volume node, retest the top of it, and continue down to our next target. Or if it is a true reversal, then we're going to want to, potentially condense at the bottom of this high volume node, this one right here, the one we said needs to break through that, retest the bottom of the next high volume node, and continue up. Right? So if it's bullish, we want it to support at this low volume node or I'm going to erase these circles just so you guys can see it a little better and I can mark out the areas a little bit more. I'm going to erase this supply zone here too, because that's not the focus of this video. Just know that this is kind of like a supply zone. That's another thing that's potentially pushing it down is the potential sellers there wanting to return. But if it were an actual reversal, bullish, the bottom of this node is our support, right? The top of it is resistance. That's the same way for every single node that you see. So we'd want this to be supportive. We'd want this to break. And then we'd want the supportive portion of the next high volume node to act as support going through, right? So we wanted to see break the resistance of the nodes to the upside and support the bottom of these volume nodes for a further move up. So what does actually happen? And also this one that we're in currently, let's just go ahead and mark out the supportive and the resistive zones of these volume nodes. Right? So if it is going to continue down, it's going to break down through the low volume node support, and it's going to reject off of the top of this volume node. So what actually happens, and can we kind of, either stay in our current plan or our current trade, or can we enter a new trade? It breaks down through the bottom, starts to act as resistance here. I'm going to erase these just so you guys can see. So it breaks down through, starts to act as resistance, tries again, but there are sellers there ready. Resists and is pretty much in this point, it's failing to make it into the next high volume node. So at this point, it's pretty much confirmed that we are, still in a full downtrend. There's other things that were kind of playing into this as well, just like that supply zone there. I definitely would have entered another trade here as well, with a tight stop loss since we've already, had quite a big win today, and I'd probably target the low of the day as a first target, keeping in mind that we still have these, long-term zones that could be potentially hit. But already that's, it broke down through the low volume node and is rejecting the top of this high volume node. That is super bearish, and you could expect the price to continue down to at least the next support level being the low of the day. So that trade from that, trying to the first target hit for the low of the day, it's still kind of just forming this in this current high volume zone, and it keeps failing. There are sellers ready to come into the market, mainly because that, we are just broken out of our consolidation for the week. And you can expect this to either, if you break out of consolidation, it's either a false breakout and will come back, or if you do actually get that, larger structure outside of the consolidation zone, then generally there are sellers there ready to, assume it's a legitimate breakout. And this ended up just kind of, going for the rest of the day, or not really the rest of the day, but I want to annotate these as they come. So keep in mind, we're still marking off our low volume nodes. So this new low volume node has formed here, meaning that's going to be the next, resistance if it does come up at all. And we're forming a new low volume node right here, right about there. And you can see that's was previously support and is now acting as resistance. Same thing. This is kind of a low volume node right here. I probably wouldn't even mark that since it's a little small. But if you're in a trade right now, you're definitely staying in the trade, right? We've broken through that long-term low volume space, and it just is continuing to give us confluent messages about bearish action, right? What was support is now failing and becoming resistance. Those are those low volume nodes. And you can stay in this trade if you want, pretty much until you get one of those low volume zones broken. And now look at this. So this is interesting as well. So you see how this was one of our targets. This was a long-term low volume node. It's now an intraday low volume node. So we can go ahead and take that, what was our second target, and we can just kind of turn that as our trailing stop loss at this point. So it should have some kind of effect on price when price gets there. And it does, it rejects it. And price rejects that low volume node, comes down, tries to attempt you can kind of consider each one of these to have its own peak. So this would be like the average for this peak. This is like the average for this peak. This would be like the average, highest volume area for this peak. So, this one fails up here. That's actually the value area as well. Fails the low volume zone, fails the low volume zone, and fails the high volume zone, that minor point of control there. I don't mark those off. I think that ends up just being way too much on a chart. But it's just good confluence for you to stay in, that it's forming these new zones, failing the top, getting to the bottom, forming new zones, failing the low volume area, failing the bulk of the zone, and continuing lower. That's how you can tell that you are in a significant downtrend that's not going to be broken. And if you are looking for a reversal, I'm not like a bottom reversal trader by any means, but you're looking for not the zone that it's in, but the zone above it to be broken and retested. So we haven't even, you know, barely retested a zone above, let alone broke it, and it had it act as support. But at this point, we've hit our pretty much our lowest target. At this point, I would not stay in any kind of bearish trade from where you entered. That is 1 to 11.75 risk to reward on your runner. That's, a fantastic trade. And if we were going to talk about from up here, from our original entry, if you did hold them, I rarely hold it that long. This one would be sorry for my shaky hand there. And this one, had a little higher risk. That's fine. This one's like a 1 to 6. So, great analysis that you can do on volume profile, just kind of finding the critical levels on a long-term time frame and making sure that you can see, each one of these definitive peaks, which part of it is going to act as support, which part of it's going to act as resistance. I don't draw like the green and red boxes, but just know that, the bottoms of the zones are supportive of price staying in this zone. And the tops of the zones are supportive of price rejecting to stay in that zone. And that is really the basis of volume profile analysis. Let's say get a pen out here somewhere. I always forget where the marker is there. There we go. So, if we were to just take price here, price should bounce from here to here if it does truly act as support. And then if it is going to be broken and we can start to look for an uptrend, we would want that to be broken and the support of the next volume node to act as support, but you never, that just gives you a good rule that you never want to be short here. You never want to be short going into the bottom of a low volume node. You would rather be short the break and retest of that zone. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's still during the trading day, so let's just go ahead and keep playing it until right now. So we're at current time right now. This is what the actual S&P 500 looks like right now. What can we just kind of get out of it? It's bouncing off this new low volume or lower part of this volume node down here. I'm going to go ahead and just mark off all of my low volume nodes here, here, and the ones from previous, we can pull those over. And this is just, no end in sight for bulls. I definitely expect there to be some support from this long-term liquidity zone down here. I've been out of my trade for a while, so just kind of doing this for you guys right now. Just to let you know, if you guys are watching this and you're not already in the Grateful Futures Discord, feel free to reach out to me or to hit the link in the video. And we offer, real-time market analysis, a market outlook. And if you think this is, hindsight, I can go ahead and just show you guys that I did actually post all of these levels in my Discord here for you guys. So this was, completely expected. It's probably easy for some people to say it's hindsight, but this is something that you can see ahead of time with market analysis and using these volume profiles to figure out your levels and when to stay in a trade and when to when to exit a trade. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, we'd love to see you in the Grateful Futures Trade University Discord. Go ahead and let me know what you think. Like the video, and I'll be happy to help. Happy trading, guys. Be easy.